Trucidatum Carnis. The mimic is a 7-foot skinless predator that hides in your furniture and munches on humans exclusively. You see, this thing is actually nightmarish on paper if you think about it. It's hunched, duck-footed, and has that creepy permanent smile that's made entirely of meat-tearing teeth. It crawls into your home so it can eat you at the optimal moment. And that optimal moment, by the way, is when you're asleep, or otherwise, helpless. Which is the first crack in the armor here, because if you're simply awake when it turns up, the mimic kinda loses its nerve and recalculates whether tonight is really the night. Also, the running thing. That signature duck-footed stance is fantastic for creeping around silently, but absolutely catastrophic for chasing anything. So, if you have any reasonably easy way to escape, the mimic just won't pursue you. You will jog away at a leisurely pace, and this god-tier ambush predator will stand in your living room and accept that it has been outplayed by a hallway. So the entire counter strategy is have a door and the will to use it, which puts the mimic somewhere below a Roomba on the threat scale. And if you genuinely can't avoid the thing and have to throw hands, it's not even that durable. A regular adult mimic goes down to normal weapons, with the head and the legs being the spots that either end it or strand it in place. But unless you're Leon Edwards or Justin Gaethje, I would suggest just actively carrying if you find yourself in the Vita Carnis universe. Bond from the Walten Files. Imagine being a serial killer ghost with a grand plan to harvest souls and make them beautiful. And then your entire kill streak depends on your ability to operate a 6-foot animatronic rabbit with the structural integrity of a Build-A-Bear. That's Bond. He's a spirit. His identity is allegedly so secret that the show's creator has been dodging the reveal for half a decade, and he absolutely cannot murk anyone unless he's piloting a vessel. That vessel being, again, a stuffed cartoon rabbit named after a 1970s burger mascot. His first victim, Susan Woodings, exposes the whole game plan within the first attack. Bond possesses the Bond animatronic, sneaks up on her in the backstage of a Bond's Burgers, and then proceeds to fail at murking her in 3 separate ways back to back. He eventually just gives up and stuffs her in another animatronic, hoping she'll take herself out, which is the spiritual equivalent of losing an argument and slamming the door. It's been straight up and by the law that if Bond had attacked Susan head-on instead of from behind, he would have lost. His stealth is his entire kit. Take that away, and you're fighting a man-shaped pillow with attachment issues, and it gets funnier. Bond is sensitive to bright lights while in the animatronic. He gets confused by basic facial recognition. There's a whole subplot where his targeting system mistakes random people for his actual target because the animatronic's onboard computer just can't tell humans apart. The Cyberfun console, which is essentially the animatronic's brain, can be tampered with by literally any nerd with a laptop. And if you disable the animatronic, Bond is rendered completely harmless. He becomes a ghost and a turned-off Chuck E. Cheese reject. He cannot do anything to you. So the strategy here is, hit the lights, unplug the rabbit, and Bond's villain arc ends with him floating around an empty pizzeria looking for someone to manipulate. Beat him by being slightly handier with electronics than the average preteen. Mona Lanius and Bearlington from UrbanSpook. Some horror franchises give you reality-bending demons and incomprehensible cosmic entities. UrbanSpook looked at all of that and said, no, our scariest monster is going to be a 38-year-old woman from Louisiana. Mona Lanius is a serial killer responsible for around 100 murders, which is genuinely horrifying until you remember she's just a woman with a knife and a supernatural sponsor. She does claim the credit isn't all hers. According to her, all her hunting intel comes from the Red Man, a supernatural entity broadcast through statues by some shadowy government conspiracy that was apparently helping cover up her rampage the entire time. So strip the Red Man out of the equation and what you're actually dealing with is a deeply unwell woman who has to be in the same room as you to do anything. And here's the part that genuinely kneecaps her threat level. She got caught, put on trial, and then tried to bring a grenade into the courtroom in her body to destroy the proceedings. The plan did not work. She was then murked in prison by a fellow inmate, which is to say she was killed by the absolute baseline level of violence available inside the American carceral system. Her partner Bill Collins, who handled most of the physical work because he was the bigger of the two, also got his entire face removed by a cop named Nathan Cole in a firefight. So Mona Lanius, on paper, is a human being who can easily be overpowered by the most basic horror survival skills. Lock your door, own a firearm, and you have eliminated approximately 100% of her tactical advantages. The Intruder from the Mandela Catalogue. Of all the entities in the Mandela Catalogue universe, the one that's actually beatable is the one that takes thousands of children. 6, also known as the Intruder, is the guy responsible for the disappearance of 3,426 children across several counties, which got most screen-based technology and mirrors banned by 2009 because his entire method of operation requires both. And that's the entire loophole. He moves through televisions, mirrors, and reflective surfaces. If you pull the plug on those, then you have just disabled his commute. And here's the thing too, the Mandela County government actually already figured this out in their universe. They banned mirrors and screens specifically because they identified the delivery mechanism and shut it down, which is the rare case of a horror series where the authorities are not just incompetent civil servants getting eaten in the first 10 minutes. Six himself has been confirmed to not be an alternate, which is its own thing in this universe, but the practical takeaway is that he doesn't get the freaky reality-bending toolkit that the alternates do. He doesn't mimic loved ones, he doesn't whisper through doorways, he doesn't gaslight you into questioning whether you're the real you. He just literally sneaks in through your TV. His attack pattern, as shown in Intruder Alert, is just walk into the house, find the baby, leave with the baby. There's no supernatural locking mechanism, no inability to fight clause, nothing stopping you from simply being in the room when he arrives and basically making it an unpleasant experience for him. The whole reason Six has racked up 4,000 kidnappings is because parents leave their children alone in rooms with running televisions at night. It just so happened that Six determined that babies do not actually put up a fight. So, unplug the TV, cover the mirrors, sleep in the same room as your kid, and lock your doors. And you have just defeated one of the most prolific kidnappers in analog horror with the security setup of a moderately paranoid grandparent. The Big Bad Wolf from fairy tales. There's a special category of horror villain who is genuinely scary right up until you read the lore, at which point you realize the writers have already killed him on screen and told you exactly how to do it again. Owen, also known as the Big Bad Wolf, is the immortal sadistic murder engine that haunts the Foxymation's Fairy Tales analog horror series. He's killed Red Riding Hood, the grandmother, the mother, Hansel, multiple goats, 2 pigs, basically every character with a speaking role. He also has explicit teleportation, supernatural strength, voice mimicry, illusion manipulation, shape-shifting, and the ability to trap souls in limbo. And he was killed by a 3rd pig with a can of gasoline and a lighter. That's not a spoiler, that's the actual canonical ending of his arc in The 3 Little Pigs. The 3rd pig, who is a pig, set the house on fire and the Big Bad Wolf died because fire is his weakness. A weakness he himself volunteered to a witch during the deal that made him immortal, in a moment of breathtaking strategic transparency. Imagine being granted near immortality by a literal witch, getting asked, "What's your one weakness?" and going, the thing that traumatized me the most as a human, definitely list that please. This man has never played a video game in his life. So the Big Bad Wolf is functionally a giant, fast, supernaturally strong predator who has zero answer to a Bic lighter. You don't even need a particularly big fire. The pig used a can of gasoline. And given that he's already been beaten by a pig with the most accessible weakness in fairy tale history, the bar here is genuinely pretty low. If you've ever lit up a candle, you're more than qualified. Bring fire, win the fight. That's the whole strategy. 3 Little Pigs figured it out. You can too. Mr. Bearlington from Vintage 8. Here's a terrifying analog horror entity, a teddy bear. Mr. Bearlington is the central entity of the Vintage 8 series, a small stuffed bear who arrives at your house via a Craigslist tier contest, promising you $50,000 and half your utilities paid in exchange for letting him move in. The catch is that you have to complete a series of increasingly humiliating chores, give him a glass of water with 2 ice cubes, watch horror movies in silence with him, read Little Red Riding Hood out loud with different character voices, play a board game and let him win, cook him a homemade meal. Stanley, the unfortunate winner of this contest, did all of this for a stuffed bear without question. And listen, the bear is implied to be supernatural. The final message Stanley receives talks about a being called Doom, feasting on his soul because he submitted, sacrificed and bonded with the entity. There's clearly something demonic going on in the broader Vintage 8 lore, but the entity in your living room is a teddy bear. It does not move on camera. It does not speak. It cannot lift anything. It has the physical capabilities of, again, a stuffed animal. The horror of Mr. Bearlington is entirely psychological. He gets to you because you choose to engage with the contest, follow the rules, film the videos, and submit them by midnight. You know how you beat Mr. Bearlington. Don't join the sketchy contest. Stanley got because Stanley followed instructions for a month for $50,000 he was never going to receive. The contest was the trap. The bear was the bait. The entire mechanism requires your active, voluntary participation in being scammed by a plush toy. Don't open the package, don't film the unboxing, don't read the stupid story out loud, and you have defeated him. Genuinely, just close the email. He cannot do anything to you. He's a teddy bear. Woodcrawler, Gemini Home Entertainment. Picture a spider the size of a tall man with the legs of a daddy long legs and a single giant glowing eye that burrows under your house and waits to enter you via proboscis, which is the official terminology used in the in-universe instructional video. And yes, it is exactly as upsetting as it sounds. Woodcrawlers are alien arachnids from the iris, and their whole job is to capture humans, do something deeply unpleasant to them, and convert them into fake people. Basically pod person doppelgangers. They've been doing this in North America since at least the 1930s. They are skilled hunters that can traverse most terrain without making a sound. Which is impressive until you realize the official instructional tape on how to survive them already told you how to win. Home Invasion Help, the actual in-universe PSA, lays out their entire methodology in bullet points. They use 3 methods of entry: window breaking, audio luring through doors, and burrowing up through the foundation. The tape even tells you, verbatim, that locking windows and doors may prevent or slow them, allowing you to call the authorities. The aliens published the strategy guide. They wrote it down. And here's the funniest part. Most of their attacks happen at night, and the tape explicitly notes that sufficient lighting can stop a home invader before they even reach the house. So this multi-legged interdimensional horror is countered by motion sensor floodlights, the same thing suburban dads install to catch raccoons in the trash. Their other big tell is sound. They make percussive noises and vocalizations against doors to lure prey out. So the counter strategy is literally just, do not open the door when something weird is knocking on it, which is a horror movie rule so well established that ignoring it should be grounds for losing your final girl license. The Boiled One from Dr. Nowhere. The Boiled One is probably the hardest to deal with on here. PHEN228, also called the Boiled One, is a tall, lanky, raw-skinned humanoid entity with a melted head, a gaping mouth, wire-like appendages sticking out of his skull, and a pulsating orifice on his chest because of course there is. He's described as the embodiment of trauma, dread, and doomsday itself, which is exactly as much fun as it sounds. His method of attack is that he hijacks television broadcasts, shows you his face, and the simple act of remembering that face causes him to physically manifest in your bedroom while you're asleep, at which point you wake up with locked-in syndrome, completely paralyzed while he silently watches you forever. In a single broadcast hijacking in 2003, he gave roughly 530 people locked-in syndrome by looking at them. His powers, in no particular order, include reality warping, technokinesis, multi-presence, perception manipulation, sound manipulation, blood manipulation, size manipulation, selective invisibility, and portal creation. He's invisible to the naked eye unless he wants to be seen. So what's the counter strategy? Well, avoid all cognitive contact with him, never view his face, and if you hear something unusual speaking in tongues, you wear earplugs, open the Bible to Psalm 91:10. Then you go and write a paragraph affirming your own physical reality on a piece of paper and then recite the verse out loud. That is the actual in-universe procedure, which is to say, the counter is not a strategy, it's a prayer. You do not beat the Boiled One. You ask him politely to skip your house. This is how you beat him, by not engaging in a fight with him in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe. And if there's any video idea you want me to cover, drop it in the comments. I always check them out. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.